This is the Legacy Lineup. I'm your host, Ren Lawwell. Joining me, my co-host, Jimmy Barnett. And we're finally back after about a month being off. I think the last episode we did was early April. So now we're in May now, early May. And we're finally back. I promised an episode today. We kind of had to fight with some technical difficulties last night. We tried to do a Zoom, but it didn't work out too well. So we're back tonight after the busyness of life has drug us both down. So here we are, Jimmy. How you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. I just had dinner, Texas Roadhouse, so I'm doing pretty good on a Thursday night. So,
What did you get
what
tonight?
about you?
What was your order tonight?
Well, they got it right. I'll tell you that. I got the Texas size combo. You can guess the rest, I'm sure.
Did you do the cheese fries, the chili, and the steak and critters?
Yeah, but no cheese fries. I got a salad with ranch, and that's what Molly had. She had the salad. Yeah,
Salad.
no cheese fries.
Are you changing on me? You're not the cheese fries guy anymore?
Oh, I don't mind them. Molly just wanted my salad, so I just got a salad because I wasn't like, honestly, Texas Roadhouse isn't a good place to eat, but we're both trying to eat a little better. I mean, not a horrible meal. I didn't have the potatoes like I usually would, so I did have a couple rolls, I guess. So
That's what I was going to ask. How about the cinnamon butter and the rolls?
yeah, that's my go-to there, man. It's hard to go to Texas Roadhouse and not have at least two rolls. That butter's good. We
need
need
to
to
replicate it. Yeah.
we need to bring back the restaurant review. I think we have a few our annual, not annual, but the date night we had, me, you, Marissa, and Molly went to what was that place called? Cheddar's.
Cheddar's Scratch
Yeah.
Kitchen.
They had us from the start. It was pretty good, and then it just went downhill from there for everybody but Marissa, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
she really enjoyed it from start to finish. I mean, I think they come out with the croissants, and that's what I just drew her in. It was over after that. I mean, once she got that croissant, she was good to go. But
Yeah, honey
of course,
butter.
every time we go out to eat with Jimmy and Molly, every single time Jimmy's order is wrong. Every time. I don't know if it's a curse, just like a double date curse or what it is, but every time for whatever reason your order is wrong. And it wasn't even like a complicated order this time. It was wraps, right? It was like buffalo chicken wrap or something like that.
I just asked for it's no different than someone ordering a cheeseburger and asking for no lettuce or tomato. I asked for a wrap with cabbage. I think it had cabbage on. I mean, who eats cabbage on a buffalo chicken wrap? Not me. So
Cabbage
I
and
didn't do
pickle,
that.
something like that. Wasn't it pickle?
Yeah, something my wife would eat, but I wouldn't. I mean, and they messed it up. I mean, it was the whole order was wrong. I mean, it's just my luck, man. I'm a difficult order, I suppose, but.
Well, I'm with you. I thought the quality of the food there was below average. I mean, I got ribs and they weren't very good. So
yeah, I mean and I'm not even a real big Texas Roadhouse guy anymore, but it doesn't even hold a candle to Texas Roadhouse. So
well, I was sad to hear that you your long-standing favorite Roosters kind of fell down the list on you, or kind of fell down your list a little bit last week. They messed up your order for the first time, right?
Yeah, first time at Washington Courthouse Roosters. That's Ren and I like to eat there. That's a quality restaurant, honestly. They do well with orders. Their staff's always good and friendly. I mean, I've had a couple bad experiences with wait times, but they messed it up, man. I mean, I think just in America right now, we're struggling to find work, and we're really seeing it on the fast food side of things. And it was, but Molly and I went again since then, and it was better. So, I mean, maybe just a bad night. I don't know.
And I forgot to tell you, I do have a student that works there. She's a hostess. And I was like, hey, I come in here a lot, get me up on the list. Like if you're working and I'm there, like get me up on the list. She's like, oh yeah, I'll do that for you. Just let me know when you're coming in. So we have a little inside connection with Roosters now. So it's good to go to a place where you can make connections with people that work there. So, but no, man, we've been off for a while. Like I said, it's almost been a month. Just busyness of life. It's been, we have kids now, we both have kids, and it's like, Bones and T-ball. So it's like, I've been T-ball practice every Monday and Wednesday. Now games are starting. He's had 2 games so far. He is 6 for 6. So he's batting 1,000 on the season. But it's, I can't wait till you get to experience the T-ball for the first time. And it's as a parent, it's fun to watch, but it's also as a dad, it's kind of frustrating to watch because I work with him on hitting and fielding grounders and that kind of thing. And it's just funny because he'll go up to the plate and completely change. He knows what to do. Yeah, I have a 3-step system for him. So it's check your distance, elbow up, and then watch the ball and swing. That's he knows that process. But then when he gets up to the plate for whatever reason, I mean, the last game he was like turning around, like facing the backstop. Like he'd get up there, he'd do his setup, but then right before he got ready to swing, he'd like dip his shoulder and turn around, face the backstop, and so we had to adjust that. But I think he's having way more fun with this than he was with flag football because, I mean, I think first of all the coaching's better. Marissa has a couple of cousins that or their husbands are the coaches of the team. They have kids on the team, so. He's getting more instruction, and I think with flag football, the guy that was coaching really didn't know what he was doing, and I probably should have stepped up and helped out, but I was just trying to sit back and be a dad. But I am, I'm in the dugout for T-ball, so I think that makes him a little more comfortable with that process too. So, but yeah, man, we've both been busy. What have you been? What's been going on for you?
Yeah, I just piggybacking off what you said, I can't wait for that. You know me, and that's coaching is it was in my blood for a long time. So I can't wait for the baseball piece of it. The other sports, I couldn't care as much, I guess, but sounds fun. I'm going to get out and watch him play. Me and Molly were talking about that tonight. We're going to come to some of his games, so at least one of them. But yeah, on my end, man, just busy with a 6-month-old. I mean, he's starting to squirm and worm and moves all over the place and screams and talks and jabbers and cries and doesn't sleep at night. And it's fun. We're both mentally and physically exhausted. Her probably more on that front. Me just work drains me, but that's everybody's life. But yeah, just we're both busy with work really. And I went to West Virginia this past weekend with my father-in-law. We went. We ride like side by side, so we did that, and it was a good time, good to get away. But honestly, at times that feels like work, so it's like it never stops. But yeah, just kind of living life, man. I wish I could golf more, but it rains every day in Ohio, so I started to play tonight, and we got 9 holes in and had to quit. So yeah, just kind of living life and watching my Redlegs lose every game but 3, and just miserable there too.
Let's go into that. Let's start with the Reds. So you said, I think it was on the last episode that we did, that you were going to change your Twitter handle to the Optimistic Reds fan. You were buying in. You're all in basically with all the stuff that happened this offseason, the trades, Jesse Winker gone, Suarez gone, Nick Castellanos not re-signed. The Reds came out and said they're going younger. They want to get some of those guys from the farm system up, and they want to start the future with those guys they have in their system. Nick Lodolo's up, Hunter Green's up, and then a couple of young outfielders, but it hasn't went the way I think you were hoping it would here in the early going. What was it, a 13-game losing streak they were on at one point? So 3 and what's their record now? 3-20, 3-19,
3-22,
3-22. Okay, so worse than I thought, but. They lost today to the Brewers. It was 10-5, I think, was the final. But so what are your thoughts now that you started out as the Optimistic Reds fan? Are you still the Optimistic Reds fan?
Yeah, I mean, dude, like I've told people on Twitter, I'm never going to stop loving the Reds and stop hoping they win. I mean, and I'm not trying to be a prick when I say this, but it's like, think of like football fans, like Bengals or Browns fans, or even me as a Steelers fan. I mean, there's been years where it's been miserable, and you just don't quit rooting for a team because they're bad. I mean, at least, that's not how I like to go about things. But baseball, I guess, is different for a lot of fans. I get it. Baseball's a hard game to watch on TV. You struggled for years in our friendship. We've been friends for a long time, and up until 3 years ago, you hated baseball on TV. And that, I mean, you've gotten into it over the past 3 years, and like you enjoy watching it now a little more than you did in the past. But for me, man, I mean, it's an every night thing for me. I watch them day, night, and evening. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm watching. As far as the team, It's not an excuse. At the pro level, you shouldn't lose that many games. It doesn't matter what talent you're throwing out there. I will say they've had some bad luck. They're injured. I mean, just for example, right now, if you look at the injured list, injured or COVID related, Joey Votto, Nick Senzel, Tyler Naquin, Jonathan India, Lodolo's out right now. Luis Castillo is supposed to come back soon. Mike Minor's out. He's another starting pitcher. They have some bullpen guys out. What'd you say?
Stevenson was out for like what, a couple weeks?
He just came back. Moustakas was out forever, which he was awful, which Moose is batting over. And I'm not a big Moustakas fan, but he's batting over like 400 since he came back. Just a lot of injuries. But again, it's not an excuse, man. That's not an excuse to win 3 games. They should at least have 10 wins under their belt. But pitching has been awful. Bullpen has been horrible. Starting pitchers, the last 5 games haven't got out of the 4th inning, I don't think. Maybe one went into the 5th inning, and it was Gutierrez. And it's just been a struggle to watch, man. Hunter Green, who is a top prospect, and you don't change just because he had a couple bad outings. I mean, I think his record's like 1-4 or 1-3. He's young, man. The dude's 22 years old, I think. He throws the ball fast. He just doesn't have – and when you get to the pros, keeping him at AAA is not doing him any good. He's one of those guys that has to develop a secondary and a third pitch. And until he does, he has a slider, but until he develops those pitches, he's never going to be successful in the pros. He will be. The dude's, from what I've read about him, he's a grinder. I mean, he's going to figure it out. He's talented. You're not that talented, and you just don't pan out, I don't think. But he struggled today. He gave up 5 home runs in 2 2/3 today. That's unheard of. I don't think it's ever – and he also had 8 strikeouts. So, I mean, like, that's unheard of, dude. Like, so it's clear the dude has the stuff to be good, but you can't throw fastballs waist high to MLB talent.
It took Chapman a long time to figure himself
out. Yeah. And Chapman still struggles, man. I mean, when you throw that hard, the ball just leaves the park quicker. We were always told that in high school. Like, my dad always told me never be intimidated by a fast pitcher because the ball's just going to come off the bat a lot quicker. And I could hit a fastball. It was the off speed I couldn't hit. And it's the same in the pros. A lot of those guys, you have some that can, but a lot of them can't. And I just think there's a lot of talent there. I still do. You can't, if you're a fan of the Reds, you can't honestly tell me you don't think they can win with Jonathan India, Tyler Stevenson. Joey Votto is another one I that's been out, and he's had a horrible year. And after last year, no matter what you think about Votto, I mean, the dude's a Hall of Famer. I mean, look at his numbers. He's a 300 career hitter. I think he has over 2,000 hits or something. Maybe yeah. I'm wrong on that. But anyways, Jonathan. So let's go around the infield. Tyler Stevenson, Jonathan India, Joey Votto, Tyler Naquin, Nick Senzel. Just right there's 5 guys. Kyle Farmer. I mean, Kyle Farmer is not a guy that's going to change the atmosphere, the whole team, like as far as his production, but he's a good defensive player. Mike Moustakas, the dude at one time was freaking an all-star caliber player. I mean, you can't tell me, like, I look at the Brewers lineup and I think if you have a healthy Reds team, they're just as good as these guys. And the Brewers are 2 or 3 games up in the division. So I think at the beginning of our episode a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, I said they'd win. I think I'm 80 to 85 games maybe, or maybe it's 85 to 90. I don't think they're as bad as their record shows. They have had some struggles with being healthy. They're not as good as what obviously I always want them to be. I think a lot of it's the pitching and the bullpen, though. You have to be able to take a pitcher 5 or 6 innings to win games. You can't rely on a bullpen every night. And everybody's putting the blame on David Bell right now. But if you were gifted that roster, you couldn't win with it either. But like I said, they should win more than what they have. So I don't know, man. It's hard to watch right now, dude. I watched it. I got off work at noon today, and I came home and I was sitting there, and 140 rolls around. Brewers Reds are on TV, and Reds go up 3-0. And by the time I went to the bathroom and I came back, it was 3-3. I mean, it's hard to watch right now. Nothing is going the Cincinnati Reds way. And that's sports, man. And baseball is a grind. That's the biggest difference. Like, it's easy to be a football fan and see your team struggle for 16, 17 weeks or whatever. But if you're a baseball fan, you watch that for freaking 6 months. I mean, it's hard, dude. 162 games is a grind. all my friends know me. I'm not going to hate on the Reds. That's just not me. I'm not happy with them. Ownership is, we could go into a whole freaking episode on the ownership. They're not, I'm not saying that like the team we have can't win, because I think they can win. They can, I think they're good enough to win, the 80 to 85 games. I really do. What I don't think they're good enough to do, and I think I said this on the last episode, is win a World Series. They're not. They're not going to beat the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Mets or any of those teams. I mean, it's just hard to watch, and I think until ownership realizes that you gotta, like, they're trying to develop talent, which I don't know if you follow the AA, AAA, and single A, but dude, AA and single A, they're Dayton and Chattanooga, they're killing it. Matt McClain right now at AA Chattanooga, the dude is on a tear. He'll be in the big leagues before the end of the year, no doubt. I think he skips AAA, honestly.
Where's he play though? Because you've got Barrero as well.
He's a third baseman, I think, but he plays infield. But I honestly,
shortstop in college. I didn't know if he was going to.
Yeah, he might still play shortstop. But that's another guy you just mentioned, Barrero. Where's he been, man? He's hurt. I mean, we're talking about it, and I've even read there's a lot of things on social media right now. The Reds are the most haunted team when it comes to the IL out of any team in all of baseball. Does that mean that they're World Series contenders if they have those guys? No. But it does mean that they win more than 3 games in the first 25, in my opinion. But it's sports, man. I mean, it's tough, dude. It's a grind. And my wife hears me. I go to bed every night and I tell her, Molly, why do I put myself through this? Why do I sit here and she knows how much I love the Reds. I mean, Jackson and I sit on the couch and I talk to him while we watch them. And I say, buddy, you're not going to remember any of this. Thank God. But, I don't know, man. We could go all episode. I'm sure it's not interesting to the people that are going to tune in. So
no, but you said that ownership is obviously an issue. Do you think that there's ever going to be anything done about that? I mean, there's nothing that really can be done unless they decide to sell, and it doesn't seem like they're interested.
I mean,
could the fan base rile up enough noise to get that team or get those ownerships groups to sell?
I don't think so. I don't, honest to God, I don't think they care. They don't care what you or I think. Should they? Maybe. I don't know. But, dude, the way I look at it is you do have to look at it from it's Cincinnati, Ohio. It's not a major market for baseball. Sure, it's a historic town for baseball. And to me, if I was a player, I'd be like, dude, I want to play for the Cincinnati Reds. Like, this is the home of baseball. This is where it all started. And some guys do look at it that way. I mean, Castellanos even said that. And when I found out the Reds didn't even call him, that upset me. Like, that right there, like, I was going into that situation thinking the Reds, they offered him, it wasn't enough. And we all knew that. You and I talked about it. We knew they weren't going to re-sign him, but I didn't think that they wouldn't call at all. And they didn't. And I think the biggest issue in Cincinnati is, and I've told you this, when you look at baseball as a whole, the next closest team to the Reds is the Kansas City Royals. So the Cincinnati Reds are worth $400 million. The Kansas City, their owners are. That's their net worth. The Kansas City Royals are $500 million, and then you have a couple in the 600 and 700, and then one more in like the 800. The rest of them are worth over $1 billion. So, like, in terms of baseball, like, to me and you, $400 million is a lot of money, right? But in terms of baseball, when you look at what some of these guys get, it's not a whole lot of money. And I mean, yeah, you can say, like, you got to put a product on the field to sell tickets, but you have to sell tickets to put a product on the field. So it's all, it's all counterintuitive to one another. I mean, trust me, man, I'm still going to go to the games, but a lot of fans aren't going to, and I can't blame them. It's not a fun product to watch right now. So will it ever change in Cincinnati? I doubt it under this ownership. It's going to take some serious money to come in there and say, hey, we're going to spend this. We're going to sell this stadium out every night. We're going to put guys on the field. And right now, the Castellanis, dude, these dudes grow green beans. They're not trying to, they're not going to, they don't have, I don't know. My dad always told me you can't spend money you don't have. And I guess that's how I look at it is maybe they have it, maybe they don't. I mean, but in the terms of baseball, I don't think they're big players, and it's obvious that they're not. So Will we ever see a World Series with the Castellinis at the helm? Probably not. Will we make the playoffs again? Probably. Will we ever be greatly successful under this ownership? No, we won't, man. They don't. I mean, unless these young guys coming up all string together and we shock the world, I mean, I'm all for it, but I don't. It's hard to compete against the Dodgers and the Yankees, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
If the Reds could spend that kind of money, they'd be World Series contenders. I promise you that. I mean, think about it. They would be in a heartbeat.
Best records in baseball, I think, are the Yankees, the Mets, the Angels, and the Dodgers. So all those New York and LA market teams.
Yeah, think of it, man. I mean, and like everybody like hates on. You might be able to do it quicker than I did. Like everybody hates the Winker and the Suarez, getting rid of Sonny Gray and Wade Miley. I mean, you can hate that stuff all you want. I mean, as a fan, sure, I love Jesse Winker, and Rand, I'm a huge Gino Suarez fan. I love the dude, but he couldn't hit his way out of a wet paper sack, and the only way they were getting rid of him was with Winker. And look at Winker's numbers. I'm pretty sure he's not even batting 200. So. I mean, and baseball is more than average. There's these all analytical stat guys out there that are pulling the stats and they want to, whatever. But, at the end of the day, I don't think that trade's the one that bit him in the butt. Not trying to sign Nick Castellanos is what bites you in the butt. You should be able to sign a guy like that. But I think it was BJ that was texting me about the Reds. Until they get rid of Votto's contract, you're not going to see a big contract come through again. I don't think. I mean, they paid Votto a lot of money, and he deserves a World Series, but he's not going to see it in Cincinnati in his lifetime, unless he's on the bench coaching, because it's just not going to happen, man. I mean, unfortunate, but it is what it is, man. Like I said, I could talk about it all night. You know that. So let's move on to the next topic.
Well, the NFL draft was last week. Saw our teams take some interesting players. We'll talk about our teams as well as the other two teams we discuss on this podcast, the Browns and the Bengals, which you love both those teams. So be interested to get your take on those. But let's start with your team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's talk about Kenny Pickett, man. What are your thoughts on Pickett as the number one pick there at 20 overall for the Pittsburgh Steelers? You like that pick? You think that he's the guy that can lead that franchise into the future?
Honestly, dude, it surprised me. I was in West Virginia, and I was trying to follow it as closely as possible. When I saw Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis were both still there, I was thinking Malik Willis. Like, I was thinking they're taking Malik Willis. But I think in terms of NFL ready, they think Kenny Pickett's more ready to lead a team. I'm not sure, man. I haven't followed him enough to know. I mean, Kenny Pickett was the favorite quarterback in this draft with Malik Willis, I think. I don't think you can say it's a bad pick. I mean, anytime you take a guy like that, I mean, I guess you think you can win with him. I mean, he's probably good enough to sustain have longevity in the NFL and be a good quarterback. I've seen Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr comparisons. I saw Andy Dalton comparisons. But at the end of the day, bro, really don't know. So I'm not sure about that. As far as the rest of the picks, I thought it was kind of cool. They took Connor Hayward, Cam Hayward's brother. That was pretty cool. I love the George Pickens pick. I couldn't believe he was still there. I love that pick. So off the field problems, but dude, Pittsburgh's wide receiver trio with Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and George Pickens. I mean, they're if Pickett or Trubisky can get them the ball, because I'd say Mason Rudolph is looking for a new place to go. He's probably going to like the AFL or whatever that new league is. But Calvin Austin was another receiver that's kind of shifty. He was another pick I liked. And then, they took linebacker, and I think they even took another QB. So I was okay with it. I mean, I'm not like an NFL draft expert by any means, but I thought it was a good draft. On the other hand, I think your team had a great draft. My team was probably about a C, B minus B. I think yours was probably an A plus, or at least an A. I thought they had a great draft. Let
me get back to your team real quick. So Kenny Pickett, I like the pick. I think he's maybe 24 years old. He was definitely the oldest quarterback in this class. And like you said, I was kind of surprised it wasn't Willis, because we saw so many Stories come about how much the Steelers loved Malik Willis in the pre-draft process. So I was kind of surprised by that, but I think that Pickett's a winner. I think he's a competitor, and I think that's what they want. With Ben leaving, they want a guy that can come in and be that competitive guy on the field. And I think maybe he had more of a competitive nature to himself than Malik Willis. Plus, the guy played 5 years of college football. Malik Willis has been in a pretty simple offense for his entire collegiate career. Pickett was in a couple different offenses. I believe, I want to say he started out at USC and then transferred to Pitt to play for the next 4 years. So he had a chance to play in two different programs and learn a little bit more complex offense. He's running a West Coast system. So I think Narduzzi at Pitt's a guy that runs an NFL offense. So I think that was the biggest thing. And one of the biggest knocks I saw on Malik Willis was the offense that he ran in college wasn't as complex as some of these other guys. So, but I'll agree. I think Pickens was a good pick from Georgia, the receiver. He's a guy that had a lot of injuries in college and never really got a chance to flash. So I think he could be a guy in the NFL that kind of takes off and has a good career there. But I think they hit their two biggest needs, which was quarterback and wide receiver on their team needs list. So got to be happy with that. But yeah, my team, the Philadelphia Eagles, I got to say for the first time in, I don't know, since Andy Reid was the head coach, so probably it's been almost 10 years now. I was happy with the draft. Howie Roseman typically disappoints me. Even with the first pick, I was a little bit, I wanted the guy that ended up getting in the third round with the first round pick, but because he ended up falling because of injuries. But
I could not believe.
You just kind of cut out a little bit. What do you
say? You're cutting out on me too.
I don't know.
But can you hear me all right?
Still cutting out?
No, you're good now.
You're not. You sound like you're distorted. I don't know. Hold on a minute. All right. So I don't know what the heck that was about, but we're going to have two different video files, I guess, for this episode. Anyway, so we're talking about the draft. We're talking about the Eagles. We were talking about how for the first time in a long time, I was actually impressed with what the Eagles did. So Jordan Davis was their first pick, defensive tackle from Georgia, just a massive, massive dude. He's like 6'6", 350, something like that. Just a run filler, a guy that's going to plug gaps, and a guy that I think that, Fletcher Cox is a guy that's been an Eagle for 10, 12 years now, and he's getting ready to be on his way out. So that's the guy they're getting to replace him. So hopefully he'll be able to do that. I know his knocks are that he's kind of lazy sometimes, which if you're 6'6", 350, I can imagine why you would be lazy at times. But then after that, Eagles go second round. They go with Cameron Jurgens, a center out of Nebraska, a guy that is going to replace Jason Kelsey, who's another guy that's been there for a long time. Jason Kelsey being one of the best centers in the NFL. He was, a perennial Pro Bowl center, and Cam Jurgens is coming in as a center to replace him. So I like that pick, just another guy that's set up for the future. But the best pick, in my opinion, of the entire draft came in the third round. The Eagles got Nakobe Dean, the linebacker out of Georgia. That was a guy that I wanted in the first round. It was either Devin Lloyd from Utah or Nakobe Dean from Georgia at linebacker, because the Eagles haven't had a linebacker like that in decades. Since D'Amico Ryans is the last guy they had that was kind of the quarterback of the defense that could, lead that group onto the field, and you can count on a guy like that. And so Nakobe Dean, I think, was one of the best picks of the draft, if not the best pick, especially in the third round. That was an impressive pick by Howie Roseman. I'm glad they made that pick. It's something that I didn't expect them to do because they passed on him so many times, but end up with that guy. And then the rest of the draft just kind of filling in special teams players. So yeah, I would say I give the Eagles an A for that draft, and one of the better drafts from Howie Roseman, the GM, that I've seen.
Sorry for laughing. My wife is making me laugh in the background, so she's ornery. But yeah, man, Nakobe Dean was that I wanted him. He was close to being a Steeler, I feel like, if you guys didn't take him. So
yeah, and then the other two teams that we talk about, the Bengals and the Browns. We'll start with the Bengals, who are coming off a Super Bowl season. They've lost that Super Bowl, as you will greatly take joy in. But I thought they had a pretty good draft, pretty solid draft. They hit the needs of areas that they need. So they got Dax Hill, the safety out of Michigan. He's a pretty good player, athlete, going to be all over the field. Took another safety in the second round. Then they go D tackle, offensive tackle, safety, DN. So I think they're just trying to shore up that defense. Obviously, all of their picks besides one were defensive players. So they want to make sure that defense is where it needs to be next year if they're going to get back to where they were this year, which I'm sure you're hoping that's not the case. But and then the Browns, the Browns, I thought they had a pretty good draft overall as well. I mean, I think they got David Bell, the receiver from Purdue, in the third round. I thought that was a really good pick. He's a guy that was, we saw him when Ohio State played Purdue. He's one of the best receivers in the Big Ten, I thought. He wasn't the best receiver because that belonged to Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, but definitely an NFL guy that I think can be an impact player for the Browns. And then I think a lot of the Browns fans were happy they got their kicker in the fourth round, Cade York from LSU. So another pick that I think that the fans were happy with. But overall, I think the Browns had a decent draft as well. I think I give them a B, and I give the Bengals a B as well. Any teams that you were surprised by their draft that you saw, that you noticed?
Not really. Like I said, I was in West Virginia that weekend, so I tried to follow your team and my team and the Bengals and the Browns. I personally thought I thought the Ravens had a good draft, but
They always do.
I don't know. I thought they had a good draft, but like T-Scar said, they traded their best receiver and made their quarterback mad. So, but still, I think it sounds like Lamar Jackson knew before the draft they were wanting to deal him, I guess, is what they came out and said. So I don't know, man. I mean, I think the Ravens are still going to be tough. They had a good draft. Who else did?
The Jets.
The Jets.
I thought the Jets had the best draft, of anybody.
I think the Lions had a pretty good draft too, honestly. The Jets and the Lions.
Well, I think the Jets go Sauce Gardner with their first pick, number 4 overall. Then they get Garrett Wilson, of course, from Ohio State with the 10th pick overall. And then they get another guy, defensive end, in the first round. So they had 3 first-round picks. And then they got Jeremy Ruckert in the third round. I think he's going to be a solid NFL player. And I just think overall they had the best draft from top to bottom. But I would agree. I think the Ravens always have really good drafts. I feel like they're a very good franchise when it comes to the draft.
The Ravens are built to always be good. There's a few teams like that in the NFL, but the Ravens are one of them. They're even in their down years, they're good.
Yeah. I thought, honestly this year, and it's kind of weird. I don't know what it is about me, but I used to study the draft and I was into it, every year. But for some reason this year, I don't know if it was with all that COVID stuff going on or what, but I didn't get into it.
Let me ask you this.
What?
Let me ask you this. Was it more enjoyable this year since you didn't stress yourself out with all that?
Well, I think the selections my team made were more enjoyable this year, but I don't know that the draft overall was more enjoyable. Because I kind of like that. I think it's something that we're doing. Combs and I get into it, and we go back and forth with who we want and watch the combine and all that stuff. But this year, I didn't have time to watch the combine, so I was kind of behind with players and who I wanted at certain positions.
That is something like you and Combs have done. You guys have always done a little pick thing, but
yeah, we didn't do that.
I got into it with you guys last year, and then the food is always the best part of the draft.
Yeah,
Combs. If you guys, Combs can cook, man. The dude's a cook.
Cowboy chili, regular chili,
burgers.
Burgers, right? Yeah,
he cook. The dude can cook
for sure. But yeah, man, the draft was always an experience that I enjoyed especially with Combs. And we didn't get a chance to do the mock draft episode this year either. We did it last year, but maybe next year we'll get back on that. But moving on from the NFL, going into some holidays coming up. We got Mother's Day on Sunday, and that's always a big holiday to celebrate your mother. So I guess I'll give you an opportunity. I think we did this for Father's Day to talk about your mom a little bit. So talk about what Sandra means to you.
You want me to cry? Because I could.
I do.
No,
I do want me to cry.
My mom, I talk to my mom every day. I call the woman every day. She's a blue collar worker, man. Gets up at 4 a.m., goes to work, gets off work at 5:30, gets home at 6, and she still makes time to, just be a mom and a wife. So I mean, just like her and my dad, if I can be anything like either of them and have the relationship and the marriage with my wife that they have, I'll be a happy guy, man, going forward. But no, she's a great mom. She drives me nuts, but she'd do anything for me, for, her kids, Molly, her grandson. She's crazy about him. And it's, for a long time there, you were like her, you still are, but you were like her second son. So she did a lot for us. Mom's fun, man. She likes to have a good time. She worries about it.
I appreciate all the trips to Dakotas that you were able to talk her into when we were.
Yeah, I could talk my mom into anything. That is, my dad's my best friend, and my mom is too. But I'm definitely a mama's boy. But this is going to be my wife's first Mother's Day, so it's kind of special there. I mean, I'm taking her and my mom, my mother-in-law, and my sister and Jackson and I. We're all going to. I'm taking them to the Cheesecake Factory in Columbus for Mother's Day on Sunday. So we'll be there get there about noon or so, and that's kind of their gift from me. I mean, nobody really wants anything; they just kind of want to have a nice lunch. So we'll all get together and do that, and I'll joke with them. But it's a special day for my wife, man. It's her first Mother's Day, so she's a great mom, and she's got more patience than anybody I have ever met, because putting up with me and that little boy that looks just like me it's a handful, man.
For sure. So I also have some women in my life that are mothers as well. So my mom, Sarah Jane, I think that I get my compassion and my heart from my mom. At times it's, I feel like I'm soft because, I'll be watching Extreme Makeover Home Edition. I start crying, but I think I get that from my mom. Huh?
I'm the same way, bro. I'm soft too at times.
And I think you'll get that from our moms. I think they're genuinely compassionate and they care about others, and they just have that nurturing spirit, I guess. And my mom's always been that way. I'm sure I've driven her up the wall as a kid, especially being the second born, which I posted that video on Instagram and Facebook the other day of my second born son. Man, I'll tell you what, and you're gonna experience it too. That's a game changer, man. And I guess that's me. I was the second born, so I guess I was kind of a game changer too. So, I'm sure I was a handful for my mom growing up, but obviously I appreciate everything she did for me growing up as well. She always took my sister and brother and I to church as kids. Raised us that way. Always trying to instill some values in us, and I appreciate that from her. And then as a grandmother, as she goes by Mamaw or Ma. She absolutely loves my boys, Bone and Hayes. She, asks for them every other weekend. She wants to see them all the time. And, I enjoy that because, not only because I get a break, which if you know me, I love a break, but also because she gets to spend time with my kids, and it's, kind of a bonding experience for them and my mom, and they get to know her and love her like I got to. So appreciate her. Also my wife, Marissa, as well. She's pushed out 2 of my kids so far. Not sure what the future holds for another one, but right now she's got 2 of them, and they're both pretty wild. So she's got a lot on her plate with work and stuff, and trying to manage that with me being, as crazy as I am, going out and doing stuff. So I appreciate her for, the times that she, I go hunting or, we go to Roosters with you or whatever. She's able to, watch the boys and take care of them. And I know she loves them very much, so they appreciate her too. Bowen always tells her that he loves her to outer space and back times a million or something like that. So I know that, she obviously as a mom, that feels special to her. So appreciate her. Then my mother-in-law as well, Karen. I know she listens to the podcast, so I'll shout out to her. I couldn't ask for a better mother-in-law than I have. She's the best, man, hands down. Always been welcoming to me, and I appreciate her. So, we definitely have these women in our lives that are special to us. And as Mother's Day comes up, it's a good time to celebrate them like we did Father's Day with our dad. So, and Father's Day is coming up, by the way. So we have about a month for that. And also my birthday is coming up too. So if you're thinking of a present for me, just, write that down and don't forget about it.
I'm not getting you nothing.
I know. I'm aware.
I'm gonna smack you in the face. That's what you're getting from me.
Well, let's talk about what we're doing on Saturday, because it's something you haven't had a chance to do yet this year, and we're trying to get James Barnett III his first bird, his first wild turkey. Where'd you go? Jimmy left. Oh no, Jimmy's out of the podcast. He's going to be hopefully trying to get back in. But Saturday, Jimmy and I are going to go turkey hunting. I've been a couple times this year. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Since 2020. The population or the number of wild turkeys killed in Ohio has went down a couple thousand each year. So, some people thought that was because of COVID and the influx of hunting that happened after COVID. But I don't know. I mean, I went to a spot with my dad last year. It was my uncle's land, and it was like a wild turkey haven, man. Like there was turkeys everywhere. The first day I heard 5-6 gobblers, just around the area. And I eventually ended up killing a turkey on my second or third attempt. But then, or my second or third day of hunting. But this year I've been to the same spot twice and heard absolutely nothing. So I don't know, there's a group that moved in next door that bought the land next door. And I'm not sure if they, killed everything off, or if they're kind of scaring everything off with their 4-wheelers they drive in on every morning. I don't know what the deal is, but there's nothing in that spot this year, so kind of disappointing. But Jimmy and I are going to go to a spot on state ground on Saturday that we've kind of picked out and think might be kind of a good spot to go. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm gonna see if I can get Jimmy back on this podcast real quick. So I will pause my recording here. All right, so I think I got Jimmy back now. His phone died. So this has been the most messed up, janky episode we've ever done, but finally got it in. I think there might be something in play here to prevent us from doing this, because last night we had all kinds of problems, and now we're having all kinds of problems tonight too. But anyway, I was explaining before you went out that we were going turkey hunting on Saturday. And I kind of talked about the land that I had hunted on last year and how, the population seems to be declining, but we want to get you your first turkey this year. So we got a spot that you kind of picked out on state ground. So what are your expectations going into Saturday?
I don't really have any, man. Honest to God, turkey hunting is different for me because you're up moving around so much, and it's like you're trying to find them. Yeah. I enjoy it. It's different. I get spend time with my buddy out in the woods, so it's fun, man. I haven't killed one yet, and honestly, I want to, but if as long as we get some interaction, it's cool to hear them, man, and just try to get one to come to you. So I'm excited. I think this is a good spot, and I think if no one's there, there might be some people there. So we'll see what happens, though. I'm excited to get out there and try it, man.
Well, that's what I told you. We're gonna have to show up about 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock in the morning to make sure that we beat everybody out there. That's going to be the most difficult part of this, probably, is getting out there that early. But I'm just hoping that, because I went with my dad to my uncle's land that I was talking about earlier, and he kind of does all the calling because he's experienced. Obviously, he's hunted for 35 years or 40 years. I don't even know how long he's turkey hunting, but he's got all the experience with the calling. So I'm hoping that I'm able to do that for you, to bring something in for you to have an opportunity to shoot. But also, it's going to have to be like a 20-yard shot. You go out there and you think 30 to 40 yards isn't that far until you're actually out there, and then you see how far it is. And it's like, you got a 20 gauge, so hitting something at 30 or 40 yards at 20 gauge is going to be extremely tough. But I think, if we can get something in 20 yards, we'll have a shot. But I don't know. I think there's definitely turkey out there. We've heard them. The spot at my parents' house, we've heard them across the lake, which is where we're going. So hopefully we're able to see something and draw something in. But yeah, man, I don't know. I'm excited to go out because turkey hunting to me it's exciting, because it's like you said, you're chasing them. Like you gotta know their habits. You gotta know, which with deer you do too. But at the same time with turkey, it's like I think they're a lot more sly. They can get away. Their vision's excellent, so they're going to see you from anywhere. So you really can't move. You got to be covered from head to toe. It's like I think it's a challenge. So I enjoy that part of it. And then hunting off the ground too is fun. Getting up and be able to run and gun and move around. I think that's fun. Hunting as well. So ticks are a downfall because it's spring and they tend to be all over the place. So that's something we have to watch out for. But yeah, man, Saturday will be fun. But like I said, this episode has been kind of non-typical for us. Usually all of our stuff works, but tonight for whatever reason I've had to turn my mic off, take my headphones off, like getting all this feedback noise. I don't know what the heck's going on, but I guess the legacy lineup wasn't meant to happen this week, but I guess we're going to try and make it happen. So what do we got coming up? Dante is going to be coming up soon. I haven't got a date picked out with him yet. I mean, he just was reaffirmed that he would be an assistant coach. He's staying at Xavier with Sean Miller, so that's great news. But hopefully we're able to get him on in May, or if not May, June, because I know that's something people want to hear from a college basketball player / coach and a legend in our hometown. He's a pretty popular guy in Greenfield, so I want to get Dante on. I think Dalton Floyd listens to this podcast. Maybe he doesn't, but I want to get his brother Cole on. He's a professional fisherman from Leesburg. I think Ryan knows him pretty well, but I think that's kind of a cool occupation. You don't see that a lot around here. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Cole Floyd is his name. Professional fisherman. I'm sure that maybe he'd give us 45 minutes to talk to him, pick his brain a little bit, and see how he got into that. I know he went to college actually for fishing, so that's pretty cool. I didn't know that was even a thing until I heard a little bit of his story. So we'll talk to this. Maybe go through Dalton and see if we can get a hold of him and have him on the episode. So yeah, that's what we got coming up. You got anything you want to say to wrap us up, Jimmy? I mean, I know you want to go to bed. It's about 10 o'clock and you got to be up at what, 5?
Yeah, I got to be up early. Long day tomorrow. It's commencement at my occupation, graduation day. So it's a happy day for everybody, but long day. No, man, I don't got nothing to say. Excited about the future episodes. Sorry for all the jankiness of this episode. It wasn't too hot, but probably my fault. Connectivity issues and stuff. So let's wrap it up.
That's good. All right. So this has been Legacy Lineup with Ren Lawwell and Jimmy Barnett. Hopefully we're back next week with another episode, and maybe we'll have a special guest to join us. So we hope you tune in for that. And thank you for listening and watching on YouTube.